Welcome to Deep Thought. See things for yourself. See things for yourself. Now, in the previous podcast, I talked about how there are forces in society that try to implant their agenda in your mind. And I made use the example of the news media talking about the Chaz in Seattle, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. You have some media outlets, they portraying it like anarchy and terrorism and barbarianism, while other news outlets are showing the peaceful side. And you know what? What's happening could be, there's so many things that could happen. We're not seeing it. Like the stuff that's talking about the barbaric aspects, that could be like very insulated and it could be mostly peaceful. Or, or it could be mostly barbaric and then just a few peaceful scenes they showing. Because even when they do news media, it depends, a lot of stuff isn't time stamped. A lot of stuff. And I did remember reading something. I think it was someone on IG who said, I'm close to the situation. They said it's peaceful. Now, they would be the ones I listen to the most. The most. Not 100%. I'll explain why I say that in a second. The most because they right there. The reason not 100% because everybody still has a bias when you listen to someone else. As best as possible, try to see things for yourself. As best as possible. Because I haven't commented on it because I ain't see the whole thing. In fact, as an aside, and you know how I go off on tangents on here, but everything's all related. That's why I don't get into a lot of stuff on like beefs and stuff on YouTube. Especially in this particular sector of YouTube, there's always some beefs and people going in on each other. And sometimes people ask me, why come you say something or do something? I say, I don't see the whole picture. I don't see everything. I don't do anything unless I see the whole picture. And when I say whole picture, I need to see both sides of the situation and what's happening in private. If I don't see it, I don't talk about it. And that's the thing in life, as best as possible. Now I know people can't fly out to the Chaz or even what's going on like a block or so away from them, depending on which direction they're going out. But as best as possible, try to see stuff for yourself. Now, when it's stuff happening in other places, okay, let's use the Chaz for an example again. Try to check out all the news on it and look at it at different angles and everything and, see what people saying, see if you can see any eyewitness stuff. Definitely. But whatever the case, explore for yourself. Now, I use that as an example because it's current news, but it's like with everything. Every single thing. Try to see for yourself what's happening. That's why I like, on my men's channel, I've told guys several times, the main thing on my men's channel is man gets woman. But I say it several times, don't just, go on what I'm saying. Go out there and figure out for yourself. See for yourself what's happening. Because that's something I've seen on YouTube. A lot of times people go on stuff and I say, well, who said it? Well, somebody on YouTube said it. It's like, you don't know anything. What's your personal experience? You don't know what that person know because that's why you get a lot of people. That's, I mentioned Edward Bernays in my last podcast and, he wrote that book Propaganda. That is very key to pay attention to because a lot of times people they don't go explore stuff themselves. They trust someone just because the person has an official sounding title. And that's one thing in this culture that they'll get information out there, say, well, this person's a doctor, this person's this or that, this person got credentials from wherever. I'm like, okay, fine. You don't know the nature of it. Because, you know how I go on tangents. That credential thing, you got to say, okay, just because they got a credential, where they get it from? Like in a dating industry, I remember there was a detractor who tried to say, well, Rom need to be certified. And actually, there's no law that says you have to be certified. Now, in this industry, the dating industry, you do have some companies that will certify a person. But that's just independent. And really, that's just to give like a potential client the idea, this person is certified. You don't know where that certification came from. You don't know. And there's no law about it, so it's not necessary. Somebody just said, hey, I can make money telling people, give people ability to give the illusion that they really know what they're talking about. And even then, you only certified if it's not an illusion. You certified in that person's particular system. And I had a personal example of that, right? Have a personal example, and I know sometimes people, yeah, Ron, these tangents, but everything's always related. Everything's holistic when I explain it. But I remember I actually had a certificate. I was certified to be a personal trainer. The certification took a few days, right? But that's all it was. I look back at it because I looked at some more reputable people doing certifications. They were taking several months, and you had major tests. And the reason why I know what I had was not as relevant because I specifically told the founder of the program, gave him, I ain't do it on purpose, but I gave him wrong information. He had a question. I gave him wrong information. He just smiled. He didn't correct me on anything. And then when I looked it up, I said, wait a minute, I gave him blatantly wrong information, but he just wanted that money. Boom. So getting back to everything, right? You know, don't get caught up in what someone say, even with what I say. Like everything I talk about, go find out for yourself. And then if it's something incorrect, come back and tell me. Because as much as I try to explore everything, it's still hard to personally explore. So, you know, I'll look at different things and I'll try to say, okay, this makes some sense, you know, but I could still be wrong or I could still be inaccurate. And I've had some people tell me I was inaccurate on some things on here, and I was like, you know, you're right. Okay, thank you. Because then I check it out. It's like, oh, okay. And I thank them and stuff. All right. But the thing is, see things for yourself. Because I'm going to tell you what, there is so much propaganda out here. There is so much just falsehood, some lies, you know, is blatant. We live in a society based, I mean, seriously, there's so much gossip. I mean, you got gossip magazines, you got people who say whatever. And it's like, wow, where'd you get that information from? You know? But they'll say whatever. And if all they had to do was sound important enough, go check out things for yourself. See for yourself as best as possible, you know? Because I'm going to tell you what, I used to work, as I said before, I worked in the government, right? And there were several things happening. This was in the 90s. There were several big things happening that was making the news and everything, major things, right? But I was in a position to know what was actually happening. That was part of my job every morning to like read up on what was going on actually. And it was just like, well, wait a minute. The major news is saying this, but I'm sitting here reading a report from an official source, government source, you know, which got to be on point or they get fired, which is saying something totally different. So that's when I first started saying, you know, you got to explore some things. You got to see for yourself. You got to ask the questions, you know? That's with everything, everything as best as possible. I mean, as best as possible. Like I said, even for myself, you know, it can be hard to find out totally unless you just right there. Because even then, even when I get stuff from official, and I'm using air quotes, sources, I take it with a grain of salt until I can like find other things that can verify. Usually, if I take information that I can't witness directly or experience directly, I try to find it might be a single piece, but I might look at as many sources as I can to see what the common thing is. Even if the sources contradict each other, like if you get two contradictory sources and they agree on the same things, there's a good chance it's accurate. And those I say a good chance. But whatever the case, y'all, see things for yourself, explore for yourself as best as possible. Think on this.